Our first house in Wellesley was not just the worst house in the neighborhood, it was the worst house in the entire town. I'm Jane, welcome to my channel, Living in the Boston Suburbs. I am here today to spill the tea on what my life is really like in Wellesley, Mass. Please remember to hit the subscribe button as I'm releasing a different video each week highlighting different suburbs of Boston. So if you're planning on relocating here, I am here as a resource to answer all your questions on living in the Boston area. I'm excited to share my experiences with you. My husband and I both grew up around here. Our parents all grew up around here. I am going to share what it's really like to be in Boston. If you have a question or would like to request that I feature a particular town, just drop a comment and I'll get back to you. So I met my husband Dave in college, and we went and lived in Vermont for a couple years. He was building houses, I was working in sales. So when our first child was born, we decided it was time to move back to the Boston area. We had family from Arlington to Weston to Situate to downtown Boston to Canton, and we were looking for a community like most people relocating that had easy commute to Boston, had a nice town center, had really great public schools, and was a really pretty place to live. So Wellesley was quickly at the top of our list. So when we first came back, we rented in Waltham, which is a city that's about 10 miles from Boston. And then we bought a real fixer-upper in Natick. So my husband had switched to sales, but he got back into building. So we started flipping houses over our head because that was the only way we could afford to do it. So after we fixed up the cute house in Natick, we set our sights on Wellesley. I had despaired of ever being able to afford anything there. But that leads us to what we fondly refer to as the crack house. It was a beautiful neighborhood, walking distance to downtown, and this house was in sorry shape. It literally was crooked on its foundation. If you dropped a ball in a corner, it would roll to the far corner. The siding had been ripped off. It hadn't been updated in 80 years. And at this point, we both had day jobs and one child. So we would fix it up on weekends and at night because we were young and energetic then. Once we got settled and got the house in livable condition, it was time to make some friends. So we made friends with this great couple that had relocated from Atlanta. And 20 years later, we're still close friends. Interestingly, a lot of our friends have relocated here from somewhere else. And in our immediate circle of friends, we have a lot of international friends from Venezuela, from Argentina. People relocate here because of the outstanding job prospects, the diverse economy, and of course, because of the strong schools and the proximity to Boston. There's 3 commuter rail stations, and it's also really not that hard to drive downtown or to the airport. Logan Airport is just 15 miles away. So if you are relocating to Boston, make sure you hit the subscribe button. And if you'd like a copy of my Relo Guide for buyers, that provides a lot of data on different communities and helps you compare. So drop a comment and I'll make sure to email that to you. When the kids were younger, our whole social life was really grounded by the public school friends that we made, the PTO, and sports and activities that the kids did. We always enjoyed the outdoors with them and took them a lot of walks and hikes. One of the great things about Wellesley is we have some beautiful green space. We have 2 major colleges, Babson College and Wellesley College, and they both have walking trails. There's a beautiful lake on the campus of Wellesley College that we like to walk around. Since COVID, it's been partially closed, but we're hoping that we can make that loop again. One of the highlights of our elementary school experience was Dave and I led the charge to put in an organic garden. So now, 10 years later, it's going strong. So kids there plant vegetables and it's part of their science and art curriculums. Another organization I joined that was a lot of fun was the Wellesley Mothers Forum. They are a social group for moms with kids up to age 8. And they have a variety of different groups and play groups. They have a working moms play group, which we belong to. I was president for 1 year, so anytime I meet a young family relocating here with children under 8, I always encourage them to join as a way to just network. Especially if you're a working mom, it can be particularly hard to get connected when you're busy getting connected at your new job. So ask me about the Wellesley Mothers Forum contact information. we've moved a bunch of times in Wellesley. We flipped a few houses over our heads. We rented a couple times while we were doing some renovations. And eventually we got to the point where we didn't have to live in all our projects. We got to know a lot of different neighborhoods, which was great. And we always liked living near town. By now we had our twins, so we have 3 kids. We always wanted them to be able to get around on their own steam without needing a car. So we thought, well, if we find a house in one of these great neighborhoods where they can walk to the middle and high school and participate in activities at middle and high school, then we're good. They can get there on their own steam. All 3 children chose sports and activities that were not offered by the high school. 2 of them were on the crew team, and we have a terrific regional crew team called Community Rowing. They actually both went on to row in college, and our other daughter was a dancer. So we found this fantastic studio in Natick, which was of course in the opposite direction of the crew event. So much for best laid plans. So now that we're empty nesters, we are really living our best life. So now I'm going to spill the tea on what we do for fun. There are plenty of places to dine out in Wellesley. One of our favorite restaurants is Juniper, which is downtown, has a really fun vibe and kind of a Middle Eastern food style. And another place we love that's Italian is Paparazzi, which is a lot bigger and a great place to meet people. It's right near 95. So we actually had my dad's 90th birthday party in a private room there a couple years ago. There's also great restaurants in surrounding towns like Needham, which is just the next town. They have a phenomenal range of restaurants. We have a couple favorites there too. But what my husband always wants to do is go to Boston to the North End, which is the famous Italian area. Here's a picture of one of our favorite restaurants, Mamma Mia, like the show. So we love the North End because the architecture's amazing and historic. It has a really unique vibe. And in the summertime, there's a lot of parades, are celebrating Italian saints. It's great fun. It is not easy to park show. Sometimes we'll grab dinner, go to the improv show, and then head to Mike's Pastry because they have amazing Italian pastry. Coming from other parts of the country, you might be surprised by is how condensed New England is. So you can go to the ocean in less than an hour. You can be at the tip of Cape Cod, the Cape, in 2 hours. And heading north, you can be at a really great ski resort in 3 hours. So, and there's amazing cities all around to visit. So like Newport, Rhode Island is 45 minutes away. Providence, Rhode Island, which is another place with a great Italian restaurant section, is less than an hour away. And we have family in Situate, which is on the South Shore. My sister-in-law keeps a boat there. My husband loves to boat. I like to watch the boat, but he likes to go on the boat. His brother has a bigger boat in Portland, Maine, and we have a great time hanging out there in the harbor. And Portland, Maine has an awesome scene. Portland, Maine has a really awesome vibe. It is a great place to go for the weekend. We have very good friends that live up there, and we go hang out on my brother-in-law's boat. Dave goes out on the boat. We have an espresso martini on Exchange Street, and everyone's happy. Another place we love to travel to is Vermont. We are actually building a log home near Akimo Mountain. So that's going to be a whole different series of videos. So make sure you subscribe if you're interested in hearing about our log cabin adventures. So this year we got the land, there's a well, there's electricity, and we're going to start building a cottage there this year, and then the log cabin hopefully in the next year. So that's how we're keeping out of trouble in our empty nester days. There's 2 more things I'd like to mention about living in Boston. One is the weather. I'm kind of bundled up today because it's March and it's snowing. Last week it was 60 degrees on Wednesday, and then it was in the teens and we had a blizzard that Friday. So it's a little bit confusing. But we have great weather a lot of the time. It's just sandwiched in with some bad weather. But it's part of the joy of the 4 seasons. Living in Boston is the greatest place in the world to be a sports fan. In our house, it's all about the Patriots. Though whatever your sport, you can find some rabid fans to accompany you to a game. Here's what I used to wear to Super Bowl parties in the neighborhood. What? Isn't this what your mother wears when she goes out to Super Bowl parties? So, thanks for spilling the tea with me, and remember to subscribe so you'll get all the videos that we put out on areas around Boston.